Hi, and welcome to a video for pages versus posts. What is the difference? How do you use them? What use cases do you use them? What are the differences? What are the similarities? Here we go. So, WordPress has two options for content by default. It has posts and it has pages. The most global, simple definition I can give is that posts are for static content, things that are going to stay there for a long time and they're not going to be really changed or manipulated, and that content's going to stay there for a long time. Posts, however, are generally thought of as blog posts. They are for dynamic content, content that's going to change a lot or be added to or be built onto often or quickly. Okay? So with those two definitions, let's dive into our pages. For this is one of my client's sites. You can see we already have a few pages set up, and then in posts, you see we already have a few posts set up. Okay? Pages, you can see just by the titles: home, about, blog, podcast, shop. These are very static, high ranking pages on a site, right? Your about page is never going to be a post because your about page is going to stay up on your website forever. It's going to be there, probably one of the first pieces of content you built. It's probably going to be there until your website dies or goes down or whatever happens. So let's look at one of these from the outside. Now, your theme will matter in the difference of pages and posts and what capabilities each have. If you're not using a theme, the capabilities are exactly the same. Most things that a page can do, a post can do. Most things that a post can do, a page can do. It's just the use cases of the content is different. So that's the main thing. Let's check out the settings for a page. So clicking on edit under a page. Welcome to the editor. Create your own block. This is the default editor stuff, but we actually have a theme on this website called Divi that handles all of our pages for us. So generally, if you're using a page builder theme like Divi, Elementor, WP Bakery, Beaver Builder, all the other ones out there, you're going to want your theme builder to handle all of your pages. And you're going to want to use the default editor right here for all of your posts. Since this is a page, we'll be using the theme editor page builder to control that. Okay, so there's no point in hitting return to default editor on a page because you'll lose everything you have built in your page builder. Okay, so Divi controls the front end of this page, but there still are some options in the back end that I want to show you for page settings. Status and visibility. This one's pretty simple, but if you wanted to hide a page, you could, or password protect it, you could. Author can be sometimes important if you want to make sure that they're linked correctly. Permalink, this is very important for SEO, but for most people, you won't have anything to do here. Featured image. I think featured image is really important for pages and posts because when you link this page to someone else, the image shows up with that link. So you want to make sure you have a nice, good image. So this is something you want to set for pages and posts, regardless of page builder or anything. Always set this featured image, okay? Excerpt, sometimes this will be important, more so on posts than is on pages important. Discussion, this will really only be allowed on posts. You would never really want to allow comments on a page. Page attributes, these are very simple. I wouldn't play with these at all. And Divi page settings, there's nothing. So let's roll down and see the rest of these options down here. We have Yoast SEO, which is very important for pages and posts, but I have a different video on that completely. And I think that does it for our pages. So before we wrap up the settings and how to edit a page itself, I want to dive into what my theme looks like for this page. Restore, and here you can see what this page looks like on the front end. So I can go in and I can edit these things, you know, change this word, change this image, and this is all part of my theme. This is not a default WordPress ability. So your theme may look different than this. If you have Divi, it'll look just like this. If you have Elementor, it'll look very similar to this. And all of the other page builders, you'll have some makeup like this, okay? I'm going to exit and discard because I don't want any of those saved. So that completes everything you would do on a page, from the backend elements if you're using a theme, and to the actual theme itself if you have a page builder or something else. So let's go check out posts. Now, posts have a lot of the same options, but remember I said in posts we're always going to use the default editor. So when I go to edit on this post, okay, cool. So here's an exact example. My client has built a couple of posts in Divi, and she's built a couple of posts in the WordPress editor. So let's see the difference in their appearance. This is built with the WordPress editor. You see it doesn't have Divi with a dash behind it. That's how you know that one's like that. What am I going to? How to receive counseling for free. Okay, so very, very, very basic. You can change these settings on a global level, but this is pretty much going to be the view of it every time. You're going to have a title, you're going to have your meta where you have your date and everything, you're going to have all of your content, then you're going to have a comment box down low, and on the sidebar you're going to see recent posts and recent comments with a little search bar. This is pretty much how WordPress looks all the time if you're doing a post and haven't changed anything. Okay, here is what the post looks like if you're using Divi. You can see it has a little bit of the same view, right? But she has some special stuff in here that you probably couldn't do with the WordPress editor itself. Okay, so it still looks similar. If you could check out the top of how it looks, very similar. Title, meta's the same, sidebar's the same. Just this content in here has changed, and that's being built using Divi. I've actually made a recommendation to this client to use the default editor for everything, so we're going to walk through a transition process on another video. But I want to show you guys the settings for a default post. So I'm going to cut those two out, and I'm going to go, this is where posts, and I'm going to open up that default editor post with edit. Okay, so this is going to be very, very easy if you've used the WordPress default editor before. If you've used any page builder before, this is going to be very simple. Title here, and then you can add blocks. If you'll see here, you can go to block, and you can start adding blocks if you need. If you want a content, you can just insert before, insert after, add reusable blocks, copy and paste. You have a lot of page builder elements that they actually include in the WordPress default editor, but I want to show you more of these settings rather than how to use a drag and drop builder. So let's click post over here, the difference, post and block, a lot more settings over here in post. A lot of these are the same from the page. Remember, we had status and visibility, not really anything you're going to want to touch there. Yoast, let's not review that right now. Revisions, this is important. Revisions is really important for posts because you're going to edit them and edit them and edit them again and again and again. This is an important way for you to be able to go back through previous versions if you need to. I think that's a very useful feature of posts. So let's go back off of that. Okay, we've reviewed revisions. Permalink, again here, permalink is important. It should usually be your title. If you do change your title around, though, after you publish, you're going to want to come in here and change your permalink to match. Categories are very important for for posts in general, because your posts need to be organized and categorized as well as they can, and that's really good for a lot of reasons. I won't go into detail. But this post, she already has some categories built in here, and she's already tagged them. She wants us to go to the blog, counseling, and getting started. I think those are all fine. The primary category is counseling. I think that's fine. Tags, she's not using any tags. Tags are a less general grouping than categorization. Categories are very global groups. Like this, she's a counselor, right? So counseling is a primary category for her. But maybe a tag would be like a specific type of therapy used, maybe a specific problem that she's working with in therapy. So whether it's anxiety or maybe it's a subset of anxiety. I'm trying to explain that tags are a sub organization to categories. Categories are more global, tags are more specific. Okay, and then featured image, like I said on the page, posts are very, very featured image dependent. It's very important to set the featured image for every post that you do. Excerpt, I do think is quite important for posts because that's the content that's going to display when things are pulled in different places. If you set an excerpt in one place, you want to set the excerpt across all the posts, because a lot of times WordPress will just pull the first 250 words of your post and create an excerpt out of that. So depending on how specific you want to be there, I actually recommend, if you're new or don't know much about it to not set anything here and just let WordPress pull that on default. Okay. For discussion, I would always allow comments on posts. I think that's great for community feedback, but you never want to allow comments on pages. That's not something you would do. And then the Divi page settings, not really important for this. All right, scrolling down under the actual post, and just to show you that you can add images and stuff, insert after, and here's where you can add everything you need to. Paragraph, browse all, and then you can get to the images. You have everything in here. Lots of options in the default page editor, okay, to make these blocks really special. Down here is Yoast SEO. I'll do another video on that. Nothing important here, and we're to the end of the post. Okay, so that completes everything you need to know about pages versus posts, when to use them, when to not. If you have a specific question, let me know, and I'll talk with you a little bit and decide what's best for you. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.